let's begin then. So it's really a pleasure to be here today to discuss a topic that's incredibly relevant and impactful in our professional lives, emotional intelligence, or EI as it's often called. So in the chat, on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable do you currently feel when initiating or participating in difficult conversations at work? But just put it in the chat on a one scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most comfortable. Okay, so we've got 3, 3, 7, 5. Okay, yeah. Anybody else for starters? Okay. And then what's one specific challenging conversation you're facing or anticipate facing in your workplace that you hope this masterclass will help you with? So, is it things like a performance management issue, or is it behaviors, or haven't you got anything at the moment and you're just here to learn whatever you can? Just put it in the chat so I know. Just to learn. Okay, Karen, that's brilliant. Anybody else? Behaviors and performance management issues, yes. So, yeah, exactly, Nadia. Okay, okay, and somebody keeps going off sick, yeah. So that can feel really hard, and I know managers that I used to work with really struggled with having those conversations around sick absence and difficult behaviors and conflict. Okay, and finally, what, in your experience, is the biggest obstacle you've encountered when trying to have productive, difficult conversations at work? So, is it about managing your emotions, or is it about what to say in the conversation, planning it? So, just put whatever you think you really struggle with as an obstacle when doing difficult conversations into the chat for me, please. Yeah, that's a real, I think a lot of people struggle with that. Karen, what to say without landing yourself in trouble. Yeah, what to say and how to say it. Yeah, absolutely what to say. And also, yeah, if you feel like they're not listening to the conversation, so a lot of the time that's about how you're having that conversation to make them feel included as well. So we will talk a little bit about that as well. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so emotional intelligence, or EI, is a crucial skill in today's interconnected workplace. It enables you as an individual to navigate social complexities, develop mutual understanding, and create a more productive and harmonious work environment. Really important. So, what is emotional intelligence? Well, it's recognizing emotions, so it's the ability to identify and understand our own emotions and those of others. Really key. And then it's about managing those emotions, the capacity to regulate and control our emotional responses effectively. And this is why I wrote a course on mastering emotional conversations. Which really goes into understanding what your triggers are and been labeling your emotions, because emotions, we tend to stick to just like 3 or 4 that we regularly name, but there are significantly more. And the more we understand our emotions, the easier it is to manage them. And just as an aside, that course is £27 and includes a Facebook community and an onboarding call. Then we have influencing emotions, the skill to positively impact the emotions of those around us. And that's really key when we're a leader and a manager. It's essential that we present the right front to people, but at the same time, being vulnerable gets people to open up. And then effective communication, and so the use of emotional awareness to enhance our collaboration and understanding. So, all key points. So, what is the impact of emotional intelligence? Well, leaders with high emotional intelligence can inspire and motivate their teams, manage stress, and handle conflicts constructively. And this leads to a more cohesive and productive workforce. And also, what Talent Smart says, emotional intelligence is the strongest predictor of performance, explaining a full 58% of success in all types of jobs. So, for you personally, it will make a difference. And also, employees with strong emotional intelligence tend to perform better in their roles, manage stress, adapt to change, and maintain positive working relationships, enhancing job satisfaction and productivity. So, 90% of top performers have high emotional intelligence, while only 20% of bottom performers have high emotional intelligence. And again, that's from Talent Smart. Companies that invest in emotional intelligence training actually see a 34% increase in employee retention. And at that point, I'm going to say to you, just think about how much it costs to replace an employee. I think the average statistic is around 9 months of a salary. So it's a significant saving if you can retain those people because you've invested in emotional intelligence training, and you see a 20% improvement in team performance. And also, you see people with that high emotional intelligence outperform their peers by 22% in profitability and productivity as a business. And that's a significant amount because that's money in the bank. So let's not forget that. So it's not just about interpersonal skills, it involves self awareness, self regulation, and also, don't forget continuous personal growth, which is essential for career advancement and personal fulfillment. And what you see is a workplace that actually values emotional intelligence creates a culture of empathy, trust, and openness. And in turn, as I said, it leads to higher employee morale, reduced turnover, and a stronger business reputation, which is what organizations also need but tend to forget about. Okay, the need for emotional intelligence as well for conversation. So, workplace conflicts. 85% of all employees at all levels experience conflict to some degree, highlighting the need for emotional intelligence to manage those situations effectively. And I'd add in here as well that there is a statistic around 70% of employees actually avoid um, difficult conversations because clearly because of the lack of training, because 60% of all employees never receive any conflict management training, emphasizing the importance of developing emotional intelligence skills. A lack of emotional intelligence can lead to escalated conflicts, damaged relationships, and a toxic work environment, underscoring the need for these skills. And then it can help you manage conflicts effectively, minimize misunderstandings, and create a more positive outcome for all parties involved. So, if you think about this, the more self aware you are, the more you will understand the impact you are having on others. And that's really important. And the more you understand yourself, you will start to recognize what's going on with your team members as well. And so, or if you are having a conversation with another colleague, you will start to recognize signs using your emotional intelligence, and that's really going to help. We are going to have a questions and answers at the end as well, everybody. Okay. So, yes, so teams with high emotional intelligence report 25% less workplace conflict. So, if you're a leader and a manager, just think about the amount of time that is actually saving. It really does make a difference. I had one client who was spending on average 3 days quite often dealing with conflicts between two team members. So he'd be preparing, he'd be having the discussions, etc. And that's a lot of time out. So if you do the work beforehand, you can actually speed things up. And the more comfortable you feel with having difficult conversations, the more that also speeds you up as well. And there is a statistic as well around how most team managers spend 2 hours a week dealing with conflict. So you add that up across the year, and that's quite a bit of your time when you could be doing other things that feel more productive. So, in any professional setting, difficult conversations are inevitable. Anybody tell you that if you do all this training, etc., you'll be great? Well, yeah, you'll be great, but you'll still have difficult conversations that you need to have, as you've just highlighted in the chat. Things around performance, behaviors, etc., will always rear their head, and you will need to have those difficult conversations. So it could be constructive feedback, addressing performance issues, negotiating salaries, or resolving conflicts. And all of these situations require tact and emotional awareness. Emotional intelligence plays a crucial role in navigating these challenging dialogues. It helps us approach those conversations with empathy. It helps us listen actively and respond appropriately. And so that takes away the issue around what you're going to say and worrying that you're going to say the wrong thing. And it helps you minimize misunderstandings and creates a more positive outcome. Think about a situation when you had to deliver a tough feedback to a colleague or address a conflict within your team. Those situations really demand a high level of emotional intelligence to manage emotions, communicate effectively, and achieve a resolution that respects all parties involved.
Have you ever let your emotions take
So, what is the developing the emotional intelligence? Well, first of all, it's self awareness. So, it's developing a deep understanding of your own emotions, strengths, and weaknesses. And into this, I'd also add triggers. Really understanding what triggers you will help you then regulate that, which leads us on to nicely to the self-regulation. So learning to manage your emotional responses and impulses effectively. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you felt really tearful or you felt really angry. And being able to regulate that is really important because it can have such a destructive impact on your team or on other colleagues. And then empathy, cultivating the ability to recognize and understand the emotions of others. And lastly, relationship management, applying emotional intelligence to build and maintain positive relationships. Okay, that was a whistle stop tour, but we're getting there.
Have you ever let your emotions take control of your behaviour and done something that you later regretted? We all have different personalities, different wants and needs, and different ways of showing our emotions. Navigating through this all takes tact and skill, and those that do it well are said to be high in emotional intelligence. But what does that mean? Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognise your emotions, understand what they're telling you, and see how your emotions affect people around you. It also involves applying this to others, understanding how they feel, and using this understanding to manage relationships more effectively. People with high emotional intelligence are usually successful in what they do. Why? Because they're the ones that others want on their team. When people with high levels of emotional intelligence send an email, it gets answered. When they need help, they get it. Because they make others feel good, they can often negotiate difficult situations more easily than people who are easily angered or upset. But how do they do it? The first key aspect is self-awareness, the ability to understand your own emotions and their effects on your behaviours. When you are self-aware, you know what you're feeling and why, and how those feelings may help or hinder what you are trying to do. Think about that time when your emotions took control of your behaviours and you later regretted your actions. Do you know what emotions you were feeling? Were you angry, upset, happy? Understanding which emotions you were feeling and the impact that those emotional responses had help you avoid those same emotions taking control in the future. Which brings us to the second key aspect of emotional intelligence, self-management. This is the ability to use your emotional awareness to help you choose behaviours that are positive and constructive. It's about choosing when to act, when not to act, and how to act. Think again about when you've been angry, defensive, or fearful. When feeling these emotions, your natural response might have been to lose your temper, sulk, or complain. But recognising these emotional responses and what is driving them can help us choose better responses. For example, if you're in a meeting and start to feel angry, recognising that emotion and why you are feeling it can help you choose your response. Maybe it's because you feel that no one is understanding your point of view. If so, this could be a signal for you to listen or question better, to ensure you have a chance to fully engage in the conversation. By asking the right questions and listening to the answers, you will better understand where they are coming from and how you need to rephrase what it is that you want to say. A lack of awareness of our emotional responses can mean an unwillingness to take personal responsibility for our behaviours. The result might be that we lose composure and end up looking foolish. Being aware of how we instinctively want to react in certain situations gives us the chance to manage those emotions more intelligently and choose a different behaviour. So, the first two key aspects of emotional intelligence are around managing ourselves and our own emotions. But to be truly emotionally intelligent, we also need to understand others. The third key aspect, therefore, is social awareness, the ability to understand others and respond to their needs. It's about being aware of what's going on around you and understanding other people's feelings. Building your social awareness involves taking what you've learned about how you process emotions and applying that understanding to the world around you to create collaborative and successful relationships. Imagine two people standing across a ravine from one another, each with their own set of intentions, perspectives, ideas, interests, feelings, and concerns. The ravine represents the gap in their understanding of one another. They might want to resolve a problem they share, but conversation is difficult. Where there is disagreement, each of them is likely to feel that they are being attacked. Their emotional brains immediately send them into defence mode, and so both are likely to become more entrenched in those positions. Even if they do try to build bridges across the ravine, each will try to build it starting on their own side, believing that that is the best starting point. This means that they are unlikely to align and unlikely to meet in the middle. The only way to solve the problem is to find a way to build a bridge of understanding across this gap of understanding. To succeed, one of the two must start to build the bridge from the other person's side of the ravine, using their self-awareness and self-management to keep their emotional brains in check. Whilst none of the first three areas of emotional intelligence are more important than the others, they are keys to enable the final aspect, relationship management, using self-awareness and self-management to build relationships with others. Emotionally intelligent people are usually open and accessible. They are people that share information about themselves and who you can talk to about anything. They show empathy for your position and actively embrace feedback about themselves. By doing all of this, they build great relationships. Few of us really understand how others view us or what they think about us. Even fewer ask for genuine feedback. It might feel easier not to know. We might fear knowing how others perceive us. But that fear in itself can play to our emotional reactions. Gathering feedback is one of the most useful things you can do to develop your emotional intelligence. Some feedback might be a little tough to hear, or it might surprise you. But it's always useful, even if you don't totally agree with it. Remember, feedback you receive isn't fact, it's opinion. And the more opinions you gather, the more rounded your perspective will be of how you come across. Learning to take the emotion out of feedback will mean you are more able to process and act on it. This will help to create a continuous development cycle where you're constantly improving your relationships with others and developing your emotional intelligence.
I've spent many years reflecting on why, what was the best model? What were the ones that worked best for me? And so what I've done is I've amalgamated some of the best models that I've found into the Compass conversation model for navigating tough workplace discussions. So I hope this is going to help you. So C is for create safety. So first things first, you need to make sure everyone feels comfortable enough to open up. Now remember, around this is psychological safety as well. So this starts before you even get into that difficult conversation, even before you're having those meetings. It's about you building a culture where it feels safe, that people can open up, that people can feel vulnerable, that people can feel that they're actively listened to. So part of that is around problem solving, asking people what they think about issues with problems, doing proper problem solving. It also means, admitting when you don't know something or sharing a vulnerable story so that they know that they can feel safe sharing back to you. So it all starts there as well. The other thing around this create safety as well is when you're in the meeting, really observe what's going on with the person and look for behavior that may seem silent but tells you there's perhaps a bit of aggression going on. Or if they, for example, if they're really sarcastic, if they come back with some really sarcastic um, comments to you, that usually means that there's a passive aggressive kind of behavior going on. So you need to make it so that they feel safe so that they can open up and actually share properly with you what's going on. The next thing is to observe, and observing is where you describe the specific behavior you've noticed, sticking to the facts, and you keep the emotion out of it wherever possible. So emphasize on the person's actions, not on your interpretation of it, really key. And you're feeding back what you've observed or heard, not on their intentions, so that it's not their personality or their character either. And also, a really key thing here is limit the number of actions that you're going to comment on. 2 or 3 maximum, never more than that, because you dilute the effect, you overwhelm a person. It's really important that you don't do that. And because you're actually basing this on fact, it's less likely to be challenged. So, a couple of questions for you to consider. What did you see? Think about this before you go into the meeting and make some notes. And what evidence facts are there for this performance level or this behavior? Think about it from that kind of angle, will keep you more specific and more factual. Okay. Then motive check. You need to take a moment to check in with yourself. What do you really want from this conversation? Okay. So the question here to ask is, what are you there to discuss? Okay. And think about, what are the goals that you want to achieve? And I always say with the goals, have your best, you're okay, and really this isn't where I want to be. So really think about what the outcomes are that you want to get out of this meeting. So, and clarify really clearly what your motives are for having this meeting. Is it really necessary? Is it affecting the team? Is it affecting the business? If it isn't, why are you having that meeting? What do you expect to get out of it? And throughout that conversation, really stay focused on those goals as well. And then present impact. Here you explain how that behavior you observed is affecting things. So this can include positive or negative impact on what the end result was, on the process itself as well. So consider that. And the questions here to ask are, what impact is the performance having on this team? How does this performance affect other departments? And how is the customer, internal or external, impacted? And what evidence do you have for this? Then A is ask for perspective. So you really need to genuinely listen to the other person's side of the story. So really important here is to go in with questions and not make assumptions around what's happened. And I've seen this happen too many times. And actually, when you really drill down, it's something that's quite often been out of the person's control. So if you really sit and listen and go in with those questions, you're going to get a much better outcome. And then you get suggest desired outcomes. So you share what you'd like to see happen moving forward, but also involve that person, ask them what they'd like to see moving forward as well, and then work together to collaborate on what the outcome is going to be. And then finally, you secure an action plan. So this is where you decide who's got what action and you document it. And then when you walk away from the meeting, you send an email to confirm this, and you also put in a review meeting, because you need to follow up. Because quite often what I see happen is people don't follow up on those important conversations, and then things slide again, and that's not fair to either side. So that's those bits. Okay, so that's the compass model. So this keeps you focused and on track and ensures you cover all necessary aspects of the conversation. And it also ensures that you approach a conversation with empathy, because you're listening to the other person, you're looking at it from their perspective, you're standing in their shoes. That's so important. And you're really genuinely interested because you're asking questions. And then collaborative problem solving. So this isn't about winning an argument, it's about you finding a way forward together. And if you look at the Thomas Kilmann model, the way to win is with collaborative, win-win for both parties. It's really important, and it creates a really great environment for people to grow as well. Now, I'm going to say to you, it isn't easy straight away doing difficult conversations and practicing this model. You've got to do it a few times because it becomes easier the more you do it, and I can vouch for this. So it's really important you just keep practicing it. And the more you stick with it, the more natural it becomes as well. And you will see really amazing results when you go in with this kind of model. You will find that you get much better results. People are willing to work with you to change, to improve, to grow. And that's what we all want in the working place. So next time you're facing a difficult conversation at work, why not give this compass model a try? And I will be sending the slides out to you afterwards. And so use that compass approach to navigate through the conversation in a systematic way. So you're going to be amazed at how these dreaded discussions can turn into positive change. So remember this, the compass model serves as your navigation tool. And the more you practice, the better you become at these conversations. So that avoiding difficult conversations is never going to help you and just leaves conflict likely to erupt, leading to much worse situations like people walking or even tribunals, which is definitely what you don't want. And actually, when you really get this under your belt, you will actually look forward to those conversations. And I can honestly vouch that the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and the more you do look forward to it. So that's the compass approach. Any questions? Do you want to put them in chat? Okay, thank you, Nadia. That's really useful. Okay. So if there's no more questions, I'll just finish off with this How to Make Difficult Conversations Easier in the Workplace journal. It can be found on Amazon. I am going to put your names into a drawer and I will be sharing on social media who's won and sending it out to you. So I will be back in contact to whoever wins. And lastly, there is the option for a 30-minute call where I will give you 3 specific tips around difficult conversations for you specifically to help you. So it's just an informal chat to help you with anything you're struggling with difficult conversations, because there's infinitely lots more about difficult conversations that I could share. I'm just trying to pack it in and we have gone over, unfortunately, so apologies for that. So if you want to use that code, I will also share a link when I write out to you. So emotional intelligence and putting that into your difficult conversations is really going to make a difference. So if you want anything to know any more, certainly book in for that 30-minute chat and I can certainly help you. So that's it for today. And thank you for listening. Oh, I am on video after all. I couldn't even see myself. So there you go. So that I hope that helps. All right, everybody. And I will send out the slides afterwards. Okay. Thank you very much. Everybody take care.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Nicola. Bye.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Bye.
Thank you.